If you clicked on this video, you are very likely someone looking for information on search engine optimization, hereafter referred to as SEO. Or perhaps you're someone in the note-taking world eyeing personal knowledge management fanboys and girls with bewilderment. What is all the fuss about? If you happen to be one of these folks, or someone in the corporate world dealing with siloed knowledge, a teenager struggling to cope with clashes in social contexts, or anyone who feels overwhelmed by all the information on the internet and feel like nothing makes sense, well, this video is for all of you. Let's start with something we're all familiar with: search. I view search engines a little like counter service, digital counter service. The internet itself is a big, virtually unnavigable place to us, so we have been provided with a little help. Search is kind of like a little butler behind a counter, constantly waiting to provide us with answers and point us in the direction we need to go. As frustrating as it can be sometimes, we're generally pretty satisfied with the results and continue to use these services. But one question remains: what's going on behind the counter? No one really knows the specifics besides creators and maintainers of the search algorithm in question. And while this might feel sinister, in this specific instance at least, this is likely a deliberate decision for security reasons. Because the less users know about the functioning of a system, the harder it is for users to manipulate that system for their own personal gain. That said, we do have a basic understanding of what's going on. It's called PageRank. A page's rank is determined by a few factors, such as how many related search terms occur in the page, how many other pages link to the page, how authoritative other pages linking to the page are, and other more complicated factors that require, for example, geographic data or natural language processing. Okay, let's put a pin in that. Now, you note-takers may be asking, what does this have to do with my notes? Well, let's review what backlinks or bidirectional links are in your world for the other folks in the room. If you wander around spaces on the internet that talk about productivity, note-taking, personal knowledge management, and generally how to learn more effectively, you have likely heard about this new thing, which goes by many names. To clarify, these terms often refer to a specific style of backlink or bidirectional link. If supported, what apps typically do with these brackets is create a link in the current place of writing to a note with that name. If you are thinking of Wikipedia, you get a star for paying attention. This mechanic allows you to very easily mimic how Wikipedia works in your own personal notes, often referred to as a personal wiki. And now that we're all caught up, let's move on to why this is so exciting. If you look up how to take notes effectively, you will quickly learn about outlining, the Cornell method, mind maps, and more. Notice how these methods are guiding you toward breaking down original sources into smaller parts. Okay, let's put a pin in that too. If you're writing a book, a blog post, or a script for a YouTube video, the process you go through likely consists of collecting and sorting ideas into an understandable entity that you are likely going to share with others. If we bring back the last pin, we'll see that these two processes sort of look like mirrors of each other. And think about it. Have people in the note-taking world recommended outlining in your notes? Have you heard people recommend creating an outline before writing a paper? This process starts to really get interesting once you start accumulating ideas from multiple sources. And it gets even more interesting with seemingly unrelated topics. Because there are natural barriers between categories that prevent interlinking of relevant ideas. Whether your notes are sorted into folders or your company sorts its information by department, you've likely experienced the pain of siloed knowledge. Being able to extract concepts while preserving connections breaks through these categorical barriers. For a more detailed account of this process, check out the 4 levels of reading from the book How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler and Charles Van Doren. It seems to me that this process is what people are referring to when they say that backlinks or bidirectional links stimulate idea emergence. And you might say, novel ideas are simply new constructions of smaller atomic ideas, which themselves may not be new at all. It's the new combination that makes the novelty. Some call those who excel at this process creative. A great book that exemplifies this is Behave by Robert Sapolsky, who walks you through some actual categorical breakdowns. It's a bit dense and long, but at least reading the introduction in Chapter 1 will give you a bit of a taste of what it's like to break through these categorical barriers. And if we recall to our SEO example, you can definitely start to see some reoccurring patterns that also happen to show up in other domains. And if this process is handled carefully, you can even start to preserve the context from which ideas originally emerged. Lack of context has caused many issues on the internet, especially on social media. To learn more about this, you can check out It's Complicated by Dana Boyd, specifically in Chapter 1, which talks about social context collapse. But if we also apply this process that we've been talking about to our internet conversations, we could start building context around the things we type or tweet, transforming arguments into constructive conversations. And if we flesh out these contexts in digital space, we can stop stumbling down rabbit holes and start roaming through conceptual landscapes. Stop depending solely on someone else's search algorithm and start discovering for ourselves where we are meant to be. Of course, this type of linking alone is by no means a complete solution. There are still various issues, as SEO history has shown us, but the possibilities hint at a more coherent internet. Just imagine being able to build conceptual palaces, weave together disparate threads of conversation, or discover a path to a new source that references familiar concepts. And in the future, with the help of virtual reality, these abstract concepts can be given spatial relationships so as to become real digital places to navigate and explore. And all of this begins with backlinks. So, for those interested in the nuts and bolts and where this could possibly lead, I recommend reading Rome Research's white paper. And if you're still feeling bewildered, check out the link in the description. Seeing this video with some context might make a little more sense, or at least you can find someone to talk about it with. All in all, I am pretty excited about these little guys, and hopefully you are too. Because despite all this internet connectivity, I think we're all feeling a bit in need of a little more connection in our lives. This video is sponsored by nobody, but we'd like to be. Check out the context link in the description to find the appropriate means of supporting this channel for you. And until next time,